All right, we'll get started here. Thank you all for coming. Let's see, as they come in here, Christina, I'll make you the host. I think we might have some latecomers today. See if I can get you on here.
I think I'm already co-host. Some in your account.
Bogart. I don't know how you do these things, but whatever. All right, okay. Let's get started, everyone. Folks can catch up to get the thing. I'm gonna delay the tape by a week to reward those that came. Let me go ahead and I have a number of things I want to cover here. I had to really update a lot of things because there were a lot of changes the last year or two here. I used to call this the roadmap for college, and I added in career because career is going to become super important as we move forward with this group, class of 24. First of all, let's talk about many believe correctly that I put incorrectly, I think, right? There I go. Incorrectly, that immediate four-year college is the only way to prepare for a career. But four-year college is not the goal, it's a pathway. And so most people will do four-year college, but I have some pretty successful students who have great skills that they picked up in different ways. So I thought I would just show that to make sure I confirm that at least. So four-year college into a career is the way most people go. And it still can work provided that you do what we call professional development training in parallel. I'll say a lot more about that as we get to sessions 3, 4, 5, and then into next year after they get accepted to their colleges. Wow, it seems like a long way away, but it's not. In early 24, I have a lot to say about what students should do while they're in college to prepare for their careers. And everybody thinks the answer is just be an RA or get an internship, but that's definitely not the only answer. I've identified about 15 to 20 things they could be doing. Every year I see new things that they could actually do to get ready for their career and to start their lives, because that's really what it's all about. Of course, you could go to two-year college, then go to four-year college, then go on and have your career. You just go on and have a career. Some people do that. I'll talk about that another time. Professional development training. We have some great partners now that have helped our students get some great professional training. They're have great careers, making great salaries, and they're going to go back to four-year school very shortly. Some have already done that. So that's definitely a viable path to having a career as well. I think it's going to be important that we know all these pathways to have a successful start to a career. I mean, I'm the education and enrichment director at West Angeles. Sure, education, we'll always do college assistance. I think we're pretty good at it. We're getting better at it, like we're adding people like Sister Brianna Bennett. I should have introduced her in the beginning. Sorry, Brianna, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I know I have Christina still here. Hi, Christina.
Hey, Deacon.
Christina's still with me. I have a pretty good team. And Brianna is going to be extremely involved with preparing youth for college in the spring and summer. She just doesn't know it yet, but we're getting there. All right, okay. So even that professional training could develop into 2-year and then 4-year college, and you still end up with it either way. Here's some alternate career starts that we've done working with 4-year college as a life starter quote. Here's the ways you can reduce up to $100,000 over the 4 years in cost. And I have students that have done these and are doing these with our partners. We have 4 key partners who we want you to know about. We don't do a lot of partnerships. We just don't at West Angeles in our program. I don't want to have like 20 billion partners just for financial reasons. That's not very smart. Unfortunately enough, I'm blessed to be at West A, but they're like 80-90% funding this program. So that's taken a lot of burden off. But nevertheless, I have some key partners. Charles Junior University is one of them. They're an impressive healthcare science career you can get that way. Sometimes 1/10 the cost of a traditional private colleges, way less than other accredited four-year colleges, the selected ones. They are a 4-year accredited four-year college, by the way. And they do everything from physician assistant to get you ready to go to med school, radiology, and all kind of stuff they're involved in. We've put about 5 students through there in the last year and a half now. And we have others every year, seems a couple do it. There's a video on our website. I'll introduce you to our YouTube channel. But there's a great YouTube interview I have with their outreach director, Laurel Black. Well, you might want to look at that, parents, and see what's going on at Charles Drew. We're going to start some things really soon, hopefully this summer. We have a lot of exciting things we're going to do for the first time this summer. Not going to go the way we've gone in the past. You'll hear more about Charles Drew in that context. But they're a great possibility for career start for students in health science careers, particularly that student that may not have super high grades but still wants to do it. They can get a great start through Charles Drew. LA Trade Tech and Long Beach City College, they develop great parallel paths for our students. We've developed connections with those schools that can be helpful. Real estate, cosmetology, food nutrition. They have great matriculation agreements with USC, both of those schools. If you want to go that way, that's an alternate way to get to USC while you're learning a career. I think every student needs to get some kind of parallel skills to go along with their 4-year degree anyway. So Trade Tech is a great partner of ours. We hope to reboot some of the things we did with them. We put a bunch of students through with to get college credits while they're in high school. We have some students that are seniors this year that have 20 or 30 credits. Some have half the credits already or all their GE credits practically. Just through our programs, we have them taking classes for credit with us. All right, El Camino College has Project Success. It's a great internal enrichment program for Black and Hispanic students. And 90% of the students coming out of that program in the 2 years make it to a 4-year college. I should have added the word affordably. If we stay connected, it'll be affordably. So they're a real good option. I'm on the advisory board of El Camino Project Success, just to make sure I let you know that. I'm very familiar with what they're doing. We have quite a few nice students, great students over there. They're very helpful in getting students through. Then there's H&R Healthcare. If a student wants to become a nurse and doesn't have particularly great grades, and doesn't think they can get in nursing school within the 2 years of 4-year school, and that's getting to be a hard thing to do. Even students with really good grades can't make it to the nursing school for the 4-year degree that way. Well, there's alternate ways you can do it. I should have mentioned that with Charles Drew. They have a 3-year nursing RN program, by the way. I should have mentioned that at that moment, but look at the video for more details. You can pass your CNA exam if you go to H&R Healthcare, one of our other partners, and start your nursing career. Hey, if you want to be a nurse and want to get a CNA, if your student wants to do that, or you know young people that want to do it, I know people like Sister Cole, she meets a lot of young people, helps, thinks I don't know, she helps them go to college and stuff. She does a lot of stuff like that. You can tell them they can go to a place like H&R Healthcare. Don't go to a for-profit school for nursing CNA. It could be $20,000, $30,000, $18,000. Don't do that. Like, don't do for-profit school anyway. Don't ever do that. There's a guaranteed nursing career start without a 4-year degree. You'll start as a CNA and become an LVN, and a lot of hospitals will then teach you to pass the RN licensing test. And in California, they had to suspend the rules because they're so short of nurses. They can still, but that's another way to become an RN. And you can still go back for your 4-year degree or do a degree in health science or something like that, and then you can become an executive nurse later. All right, let's continue on. Here's the problem with picking colleges that I see today. This is a pretty new view graph because I realized going into the pandemic, it's something I never addressed. Most people will pick colleges with a preference-driven approach. I call this preference-driven. I'll show you how it works. The parents and student have college preferences. That's normal. But then there's college alums, the reputation of the college, family and friends, suggestions and anecdotes, and they'll apply to various colleges. And usually there's, let me close this up, I have a problem here. Usually there's moderate to high parent debt. And the viable career paths we found only occur in like 45% of the cases. They kind of figure out their careers a little later. There must be a better process than just hearing things and that kind of stuff. Now, I'll tell you how that works with us. This is where we come in. We think we can help with how the college list is put together. Sure, you should always put the colleges that you prefer on your list, but we think there's some other colleges that you might prefer that are affordable and great career starts. What's a good college is an interesting question before I put Iron Man up there. You know, a lot of you are wondering, what do we think is a good college? And I always put up Iron Man. In case you don't know, within Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's this character called Iron Man. That's his how he looks. He flies around and fires a lot of gizmos out of his hands, etc. But that's really not the total story. Is Iron Man Tony Stark or a suit? It's really the big question, because that's the guy inside that suit. And that's a big question. Is it Tony Stark or suit? Well, it's not just a suit. It's a person. It's how he uses that suit. Me and you could get in that suit and we get our brains blown out, but he can get in there and become a superhero for Marvel. Well, in the same way, a college by itself, just because of its name, doesn't make a student great. It's how they use the college. Boy, when I came to know that, I started doing this 20, 22 years ago, maybe. When I came to understand that, it was only about 10 or 11 years ago. It was quite a revelation, because I saw students going to schools like that are lesser known, like Bakersfield or Grand Canyon or Chico State, and doing extremely well in their careers. And sure enough, students who went to well-known schools did well too. But I found there was no real correlation in the name of the school. Because I had good students going to great schools that just come out of college and pretty much don't do much for a few years. So I realized I needed to concentrate on preparing students to go to college. The first consideration is the school affordable and sustainable? That's going to be the first thing to consider. And students, if there's any students here, I think there are some, you'll get the college you earn and want, not just the one you want. It's the first valuable life lesson you will get as a student, that you can't always have what you want. It's going to be what you earn in life. Despite all the things we've done with equity and wanting to give students things, and those admissions offices and those financial aid offices and those scholarship programs make their choices. It's your record. It's what you've earned. And this is why, your parents have gotten on you so much about your grades, and we're so concerned about achievement. Again, if there's any questions, just in the chat, it'd be really great. Put your questions, or you just can stop me and ask me a question. I'll be glad to answer. Is anything out there, Christina? I'm okay. Christina, Brianna, we cool?
Yes, you're good.
All right. As I bring up websites.
Deacon Wilson, can you repeat? My daughter had stepped out to get some water. Can you repeat that last thing about earn?
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I said that was Iron Man.
My parents.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. That's my favorite part of the meeting. What are you talking about? I said that's Iron Man. I talked about, it's not just the suit, it's who's in the suit. It's a matter of preparing yourself for success in a way before you step on the campus. And it turns out getting an affordable and sustainable school is what we all want, but here's the trick. Students, you'll get the college you earn and want, not just the one you want. And that's the problem with a preference-driven approach. We're just concerned about what we want, but that's a valuable lesson, students, and that for life too. You can't always have what you want. And all of us adults have found out the hard way. I think if I could interview each parent, we could tell you stories where we learned it. You can't always have, you have to earn it. And even in life, when people appear to be giving people things today, it still boils down to who has the record, who has demonstrated, who has earned what they want, not just getting what they want. Hope that was a good effort there, Sister Coles. I don't know. So what is a good college? Let's continue. Here's the way we see it, and I think you might agree. Affordable and sustainable career paths, student fit, and academic support, and good socialization. Now, I'm going to cover all of these in our next meetings as we go through this process together. But I want to expose you to those, because that's what I think a good college is. Now, there are other things I think that are cool about a college. People might think are like, I think, I don't know, some people might not go to school unless they have a Starbucks on the campus. I don't know. But these are the big ones anyway. Affordable and sustainable, a career path. Notice I didn't say major. I don't think you should pick a school by major. You should pick a school by career path. Because that way, you know, there may be many majors that can get you the career path that you want. And then there's the issue of how a lot of us figured out our career path later than our major. And that's why the perception is that majors change. They change because career paths change. What contributes to career path, I'll cover next meeting. But it's always a matter of finding out why you're created. Why are you here? What bothers you in life? What do you want to do? So these are all the factors, I think, to make a good college. Here's the data-driven approach. I told you the preference-driven approach, but how about the data-driven approach? How about a data-driven college list? And what data do we want to use? The unweighted GPA, the immediate career path desired, and immediate career path that can be obtained from these colleges. So the colleges you pick give you a way, get this, to your immediate career path students, or paths, because sometimes you may not be sure. So you want to have a few career paths that are possible through a college. This is why I don't like to see students looking up and picking their list by major. That they have my major, and list all the schools that have my major. One thing, they may not be affordable. A perfect example is like animal. People want to work with animals, like animal science or work with animals. There are so many ways to get that career. But if you pick schools that only have that major, undergraduate, you're going to pay a lot for college because there's only very few. How about weighted GPA? That's another thing we want to look at, weighted and unweighted. So those are two things, parents, that you'll want to know. The weighted, that's good homework for parents and students. To order the transcript and find out the unweighted and weighted GPA. That's cumulative, not just the last semester. Then the family income is part of data that you need to have to determine a data-driven college list. And then how much debt are you willing to take? That's my Luke 14, 28, 30. I'll look at that later today. It's very interesting in scripture. And from the data-driven college list, we have a list of top 12 colleges. And plus, you'll have other preferred colleges that meet that requirement. And I'll help you with that in our first meeting when we meet to talk about the college list. I think it's not too early to meet and get a preliminary list. We'll do 2 free meetings like that with you, where we sit down with you and figure out the college list. It might be a good idea to get that list before you talk to the counselors in the spring. So you've already thought it through, what a data-driven list looks like. And we usually see, when we have a data-driven list, 0 to moderate parent debt and viable career paths 85% of the time in our students. Okay. The SAT scores, we think, I put it last because certain schools don't even look at SAT scores. Certain schools are optional, and I'll talk about optional, what that means in a moment. But that's also a part of data-driven lists, because a school may accept students no matter what their scores are, but then they might need the scores to determine merit and how much you owe for college. I did this story of 2 doctors here. I thought I'd taken this slide out, but I clearly didn't. But the story of 2 doctors probably goes for later in the presentation, but I'll go over it now. I have 2 young people that are doctors right now at a certain hospital, which you'll see in a minute. Student 1 went to Cal State Long Beach at $18,200 in debt. Went to post-grad prep at Long Beach City College. It was $985. They were slinging coffee to make that, so they took no debt. Then they went to medical school at Charles Drew and UCLA, got $38,900 in debt. Then the second student went to University of Arizona and got $163,450 in undergraduate debt. I have a lot more to say about that later, parents, about how we get around the debt issues. Student 2 went to postgraduate prep at UCLA. That was another $3,240 in debt. And the student 2 then went to the University of Michigan Medical School for another $240,000 in debt. Student 1 and student 2 both work at St. Francis Hospital. Actually, they are actually both now at Cedar Sinai. They became friends, they moved together, but at the time they were at St. Francis Hospital. $112,500 is the salary that they both are making. One's in $58,000 debt and the other's in $411,000 debt. It just shows you that we have to be careful what the school we pick. It's the student that makes success. The student one just utilized their opportunities and did it for a lower price. Student two paid more, but these two students ended at the time making the same amount of money. I just thought I'd bring that up. It's a good way to cap off what we talked about, that it's what you make it. And students and parents, we should think about not picking by the name so much, but picking by what fits and the different things we said a minute ago. Okay, so here's the college admission process. I used to do this chart here when I was an amateur 12 to 15 years ago. It took like 3 charts to do this, but I think this is a good way of looking at it. You start with your data-driven list. And here are the different categories of school that, as we see it: out-of-state public universities, California state universities, because in this state, that is a separate category, because out-of-state public universities operate different than our Cal states. Early action private colleges, Protestant Christian colleges, universities of California. By the way, back to this one, there are some private colleges you really should apply to early. It's your best chance for money. And certainly Christian colleges, you want to apply early to those. Universities of California, there's 9 of those. Then regular period private colleges. Now you notice I don't have a separate category called HBCU, because at the end of the day, I see HBCUs as either private colleges, which despite what they say, they operate just like any other private college. All the things of affordability, all those things are quite the same. Even the public universities out of state, I consider those out of state public universities. So in our model, there's 5 different types of colleges. Again, it all started from this data-driven list back here, you remember. You get your application acceptances, you submit your FAFSA, you get your financial aid awards. Then the students that are accepted, the schools look at the financial aid award, and because you should make a cost determination for the school and the trade-off. So right now with the seniors, I have a video out and we're going over how to read the financial aid award and know what a school will cost, okay? There's a big article on that recently. I believe it was in the Wall Street Journal or one of those places where they said the government has done a study and the financial aid awards don't tell you what you owe for college. So we've been telling our parents for years how to read those. So this is the college admission process as far as we see it, okay? Again, you'll see these big, long flow charts and books, and I think this is it right here. Let's look at that again. Again, we have these 5 different types of colleges, and this chart's all about, how will we apply to colleges? It's a little different than the last one. So looking at this here, September 15th is when you'll start. That's in 2023, by the way, is your 2024 students. You apply to out-of-state public universities. October 1st to 31st, you do Cal State, but the deadline is November 30th. Like right now, we're past the priority deadline for this year, although they still have a bunch of them open. Early action private colleges, you're going to do November 1st to 15th. University of California, you're going to do from November 1st to 30th, but we believe that the work on the UC essays should begin in the beginning of the summer as soon as possible. You should be working on those for 8 to 10 weeks. You shouldn't just try to rush and get them in. There were so many people this year that did that, and I feel so sorry for them, but I can't help them after Thanksgiving because I just won't do it. It's too much stress. But you start working on your essays early. And that's also true for these private schools here. You can start those essays early in the summer too. If you can get to the school year and have your essays pretty much done and drafted or being done in September, you're in really good shape. Sister Brianna, wouldn't you agree that that's the right way to look at it?
Yes, I would agree with that. Just thinking about some people, not in this program, but other people I've helped out in other programs who have asked me to look at it the week before the essays due, or to ask me to do a workshop for them. like right when the essays were due. I was just like, no, you should start moving forward. Make sure you're starting in the summertime. So that way you can think clearly, because that's the last part of the UC application. So you want to make sure that you have the time to actually think through it and write it effectively as well.
Yeah, we agree. And so these last three categories are your essays, right? Your early action private Protestant colleges, your University of California, and your regular period private colleges. They require essay development that she was just referring to. And usually in 2023, we're going to get back to normal. We have one-on-one support, or 2023, we'll have summer bridge support in small groups. We'll have small groups of 2 and 3 students that will help. But look how early we'll be in the process. And that's why it's important, parents, to start planning the time of your students. And students, if you're here, it's time to start thinking whether you're doing too much. I mean, if you're going to apply to a lot of schools and you're really, really busy, it's going to be extremely hard for us to work with you and help you, and for you to do well in your applications. Happens every year to have high profile students that probably don't get into schools because their essays are quickly thrown together and because they're so busy. And of course, we'll assist with application delivery support for all types of applications. Okay. So that answers your question of what kind of delivery support we'll do and how's the college admission process work in general in terms of applications. It isn't too early to think about it right now. So like I said, there are 2 ways to choose a college, and we're talking about the data-driven list. And you might wonder, what are our top schools, our top 12 that we like? We're not saying these are the 12 best schools ever, although I think some of them, all of them are great. In fact, each one of them, we've had great results with our students. So that's probably not the right way to place it. But again, it's not so much the name, although you'll see some schools you've definitely heard of here. CSU Long Beach, we think is a great, and CSU LA, which that's not the right name anymore, sorry. It's Cal State Los Angeles, CSU Bakersfield, Sonoma State. We think are the top CSUs for career. We also, I didn't put very selective CSUs in here because everybody just can't do them. I have Long Beach there because we have students that go to high schools in that area. But San Diego State, CSU, San Luis Obispo, Fullerton are 3 of the top state schools in the nation. And in fact, Poly SLO and San Diego State are always in the top 20 state schools in the country. So they're just not on this list because only the top 1% or 2% of my students can get into those CSUs. I'll actually explain that whole process to you, probably in meeting number 2, which we'll have in two months or so, because all CSUs are not created equal. Biola University is a favorite of ours in the Christian college world. So those 3 are our favorite Christian colleges, somewhat so actually selective, the last 2. Grand Canyon, somewhat selective, but very affordable. Every school I have up here, remember, in the data-driven approach, look at affordable schools. So what a lot of people do is they'll have their preferred list. They'll pick 2 or 3 of my top 12 schools for affordability reasons. Boise State is a top affordability school for us. Howard for our students that apply early. They do ask us for a list of our students, and they do have some nice merit awards, so I include them here. Tuskegee's here, and George Washington for the same reason. They'll do special things for our students, and that's important. Howard and Tuskegee are my favorite and affordable HBCUs. Lala Marymount, because of our relationship with them, if your income's below a certain amount, I can help with additional funding there as well. It's a high quality school. These are our favorite 12. There are others that we like too that just didn't list them here. I probably should have and could have, but you get the idea on the kinds of schools that I'll advise you about, in addition to the schools that you prefer. Remember, these are my data-driven schools. Okay, get any questions, just let us know. Let's talk about the SAT and the ACT college admission requirements. And they're changing due to societal realities, of course. But we saw from 2012 to the present, maybe so many social justice influences, such as the Floyd killing. Actually, I should say murder. It's a murder. It actually changed the admission process at schools. The schools turned their attention during the pandemic and slightly before to, certainly during the pandemic after the murder, to changing their admissions requirements. And of course, here in California, as you know, CSU and UC dropped the SAT from their admission requirements. It's not even optional, okay? Then we had a thing called COVID-19 responses that have affected those requirements as well. It forced colleges to change their cost model, which made them drop it in some cases. Some schools, after evaluation, dropped it. I will say, though, there's a video on this too, but I will say that a lot of schools have brought back the SAT because they found out it put them in an admission conflict situation where they couldn't bring in students who would have gotten, high scores before, but they weren't noticed because their grades were high, but not super high. But this is currently the thinking behind why schools dropped the SAT. They reduced requirements, they went test optional or went no test. I'm going to explain those in just a minute. Okay. Here's some of the responses, the pandemic responses to those SAT, I'll call them cancellations. University of California, we just said, and CSU will not require or even read the SAT or ACT for the class of 2024. And it didn't for 23 or 22. Some people think they're going to bring it back in 25, but you don't care about that. You're graduating in 24. Many private colleges are test optional. The SAT could still help students in those cases. I'll talk about that in a minute. Other schools are already no test. You can go to www.fairtest.org and find your no test schools. I even count no test when they say above a certain GPA, they don't read scores. That's counted as no test. But there's some real no test. I mean, there's schools that just don't look at the test at all. You can see them on fairtest.org. Locally, there are a couple like that as well. Who should take the SAT? Students with a GPA of 3.0 or above, which means below 3.0, it's problematic, I think. We'll see why here. And they're applying for schools that are test optional should take the SAT. However, you should be aware of affordability issues. And GPAs up to 3.8, you won't get a merit award. So you might get in, but then the issue will be, can you afford the school? So we do think students taking the SAT will have higher GPAs. Should a student who's 2.8, 2.7, they can take it. Some parents think they just should to be doing it, but it's not really helpful in the admission process. Or you can do a lower GPA if you're willing to take a very high debt cost for a school. Because remember, if you're 2.8 and you get into a school because your SAT scores, you're not getting any kind of merit award. It's going to be very costly usually. Now we're offering SAT prep for the March, May, June, August, and fall SATs. You can register at www.westa-eep.org. Just click on programs. Be sure to select the prep class of interest. The classes will be on, we're changing now for those who looked at us before. We'll be on Saturday mornings and Sunday afternoons in person. We're not going to do online anymore. Online will have to be ordered separately and will cost more probably, because I bet Princeton will charge us more. Be sure your youth schedule allows it. We had a lot of problems with that this past SAT. Just make sure their schedule will allow it, because it's just hate to see you, pay for the prep, even though it doesn't cost a whole lot, but you lose that money and they lose the opportunity to benefit from the prep. Missed sessions due to busy youth schedule means no value to the test prep. You reduce the value when you miss 2 and 3 and 4 sessions even. 16 to 18 hours of prep will cost you $160 to $220. That prep is worth over $2,000 because it's Princeton review based. And all of our teachers are going to be certified. I do a lot of the prep myself. I've been doing it for 11 years now. It includes the book and practice testing with results. Yes, I might surprise Christina. We're going to bring back the practice test. We're going to have a mandatory orientation session. Okay. How about some okay, that's all I had on SAT. Let's move on to college access misconceptions. There are some misconceptions I see always this time of year that are quite problematic. Belief that a well-known private high school better ensures a well-known affordable college. Well, it might. It depends on the list, right? On your college list, how you leverage that private high school. Our personal experience is that if that's not done, then you lose well, what really happens with private high school students is they always do well as far as when they get to college, but sometimes the grades are a little lower because students that didn't go to the selective private high school have higher grades. So they're paying more for college, but they always finish college. So there you go. They finish it early and sometimes and do very well. So they're well prepared. But then the issue of cost. This is not to say there are students from other schools that don't finish school early and or do well in college. They do well too. More AP class. Next misconception. People think more AP classes means you'll have a great college. Well, college classes are way better than AP classes. If you can take 2-year college classes, it's way better getting you ready for college. And they're regarded just as high by readers in private schools. They regard it just as high. The problem with the AP classes is that the classes are taught to the AP exam. And sometimes it affects the learning in the class, like in the case of AP chemistry and AP calculus. Colleges will certainly give you college credit if you get a certain score on the test, but they might make you take chemistry, probably will, chemistry and calculus over again. Because when they're taught to the test, they're not complete enough for students who are going to take it as part of their degree. The goal, and also, in AP classes, I should say, the GPAs are going to be higher if you don't do as many. They're typically just presented, and the teachers are not really feeling as compelled to drill down into the classes because you're an AP student. Now, I will say AP English is a little different, but nevertheless, too many AP classes artificially reduces the GPA. Remember, the goal is a well-known or highly regarded. I'm sorry, the next misconception is that the goal is a well-known or highly regarded college. Well, you can have your cake and eat. You can get a school that's not well-known and still do very well. The goal is to be successful in your career. Misunderstanding of GPA types, I'm gonna get into that, and what this may mean for affordable college enrollment. Well, you have the concept of a weighted GPA first. Weighted GPA also approximately is equal to when we say the UC-CSU GPA, when you look at a transcript. That's a good homework assignment. Order the transcript and look these GPAs up. Get familiar with where your student is. The students, you should do it to get familiar with where you are. So when you see UC-CSU GPA, that's the weighted GPA, where you get a 5 for A, a 4 for B, and a C is 2 points. Now there are some rare cases where the C is the C is 2 points. There's some where the C is 3, but most of it, I bet you didn't notice when you get a C, you get the normal 2 points. It's the 5 and 4 for A's and B's that cause the GPA to be supposedly a weighted GPA to be higher. Unweighted GPA is also called the total GPA or the LUSD GPA. Total GPA is the most common. A equals 4, a B equals 3, a C equals 2, a D equals 1. So you're on a 4-point scale. So you could be 3.8 or 9 unweighted, but over 4.0 weighted. Okay, here we go. The only schools that will read the weighted GPA and use it in their decision are the UCs and somewhat the CSUs. The rest of the colleges go on unweighted GPA in determining their scholarships, for example. It's the unweighted GPA. So if you take a whole lot of AP courses and you get C's and B's or mostly C's in them, it's not helping you at all. It's better for you to have taken the unweighted course, GPA courses, the regular courses. Look at your schedule for next year. Don't take a whole lot of AP courses if you pretty much have gotten, B's and C's and an occasional A. I wouldn't do any more, AP courses. I would do regular courses and pull that GPA up. Some people can do that the second semester. They can move from the AP class to a non-AP class. And now they can get an A where they could only have gotten a B or C before. That's really a good tip. And it's hard for parents to believe that, but it's really not as good all the time to have a lot of AP classes if you're just getting B's and C's in them. Except for UCs and CSUs, the College Academic Merit Awards are based on unweighted GPA, okay? So you got a whole bunch of schools look at unweighted GPA and making a determination. So if you've gotten a lot of C's because they're AP courses, then you have an artificially low unweighted GPA. The UCs read weighted GPA. Selective private colleges read AP classes qualitatively, meaning did you take them, not quantitatively. Then look at the number. They may notice if a student took any AP classes if they were available. But then you have high schools that have intentionally dropped their AP classes. Some pretty selective high schools have dropped their AP classes to make their students more competitive. Thought you might be interested in that. So any questions on that? Anything out there, Christy, we're okay?
Yes, it looks like we're all good.
Yes, Sister Cole, I knew you'd agree with that. I think we talked about that before. You told me that. Okay, let's go on here. Taking good time. Now talk about that college cost. I told you I'd look at Luke 14:28-30. It's my favorite verse to start thinking about this, whether you're, I don't know if you're aware this was here, but Jesus once said, for which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it. Verse 29, lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. The most common reason for students to not finish college and have to switch colleges is cost. Now, in our program, because I bring it up early, we are a program that believes in affordable colleges. We believe in parents having retirements and be able to go retire on Tahiti if they want to. We don't believe in getting a lot of debt and making retirement very difficult, okay? But if you do, if you want to take some debt, we'll show you how to take it in a way that doesn't have as much impact. But that's part of this whole idea of counting up the cost. What other thing do you go into a store? If you don't pay attention, this college process can be like you going into a store and you look on the shelves, instead of price tags, all you see is tags that discount the cost. Okay, all 2,000 off, 10,000 off, 20,000 off, but you don't know the cost of the item till you get to the counter. That's not a good way to do this, and so we'll teach you on the program how to know before you get to the schools, and even while you're building your college list. When I do a planning list for students, I always include the estimated costs based on the transcript and the data that we have, income and all that stuff. What will you pay for CSU? I thought I put some examples in of what we pay for certain schools. I'll do different income levels. For high school class of 2020, this is 2024, I'm sorry, thought I changed all those. The family income is up to $40,000. So those are families that are up to 40. It's based on line 11 of the 2022 tax return. And that's correct. For 2024 students, looking at 2022, this should say high school class of 2024. You'll run about $0 to $300 a month to go to CSU. So in the state of California, people pretty much don't pay much out of pocket for CSU if their incomes are up to 40,000. Again, for class of 2024, that should say income up to 60,000. It's $0 to $700 per month for the University of California. The University of California costs a little more, but I put it up to 60,000 also. California State University from 40,000 to 58,000. Going to pay $300 to $1,200 per month, depending on where it is in that range, and also depending on which CSU it is. Because some CSUs cost more than others, because their room and board costs vary so much. Then if it's 40 to 80,000, it's going to be $300 to $1,400 per month. Okay. By the way, we'll send you. I don't think Christine and I shared that with you, did I?
Which?
The presentation.
No.
If
I
you
don't
could
have
go,
it yet.
if you go there under a class of 2024,
I can get that there. Okay.
you can steal the link there, okay, and you can put it in the
Okay.
chat for them, okay? You'll find it right there. I created a 2024 folder, okay? Under
Okay, got it.
under West AEP,
Got it.
I think you have access to that drive. All right, let's see, more data. class of 2024, above 60,000. Watch this, parents. That's where most of my demographic is actually. It's 1,300 to 2,000 per month, depending on how far you're above 60,000 and which CSU it is. You might say that's a lot, but when you look at private schools in a moment, you'll see it can be much more. It could be 3,000 or 4,000 a month for a private school. 80,000 plus for UC, it's $1,300 to $3,200 per month. This is based on numbers from last year and this year. I don't have all the numbers for this year. I've only seen 1 or 2 award letters. So really we're still looking at last year's data. This is going to be pretty close. Let's talk about private colleges. This is based on a video that's on the site as well. I'll go into a little more detail there. So we're looking at private schools. We're talking about selective private colleges now. We have what's called the 1/3 rule. Colleges pretty much approach it as 1/3 is going to be parents, that's in the blue. 1/3 will be school, 1/3 will be student merit. Now, look at the assumptions that I made though, parents. GPA of 3.8 plus unweighted, family income of 75,000. So if this GPA is a little lower, right, then they still could admit the student, but the parent blue is bigger and the school orange is lower. The school's going to be giving merit awards in the case of selected private colleges. Now, if there's a need basis, they'll make this 1/3 bigger if they have to, okay? But selected private colleges more and more are only giving merit-based awards. Some of them give university grants for sure, below a certain income of a family. This is why in the first meeting, we need to kind of price out that list and get an idea of what they'll cost. Again, this is assuming there's 33% of student merit is assuming the maximum merit award from the school, but what if it's lower? Now, of course, the parents blue will be bigger as well. So parents can be chipped away in 2 ways. If the student's merit is lower, there's more blue, right? And if the school gives less because of income, there's more blue. Sometimes it could be half the amount for that'll be blue on this. But the 33 is a starting point. You can actually use that rough estimate when I show you the price of these schools that are coming up. New York University, 78,900 per year. By the way, there's a 90-something% chance that students will see their school listed in this private school listing here. These are the ones that are the most popular in our program that they're applying to. They don't always get into them or decide to go, but the ones that we hear when we're having meetings with students. 78,900 per year in tuition, room and board. So again, you figure about 1/3 of that, parents, is going to be a minimum what you're going to pay. Duke University, 78,900 per year tuition, room and board. So 1/3 of that, the minimum you'll pay for Duke. And that's regardless of the GPA. 1/3 would be what it would be if the GPA is high. University of Southern California, USC, it's 77,900 per year this year, tuition, room and board. That's called direct cost, by the way, when we do tuition, room and board. Again, 1/3 rule is your minimum cost for USC to be on campus. Harvard University, 74,500 per year, tuition, room and board. Georgetown, 79,300 per year. Loyola Marymount, 72,200 per year. So that's about 24,000 minimum you'll pay for that. Again, if the GPA is not 3.8 or above, then you'll pay more. And if the income is above 75,000, you'll pay more. Chapman College is 71,200 per year. University of San Francisco, 70,800 per year. George Washington's the first interesting one we get. It's 69,800. You might say, well, why is it interesting? Well, it has an asterisk up here, which means the students on our program get some consideration. So you can definitely, get some really good prices because there's a thing called an alumni award that they give our students here. And if you apply through the program, come to the meeting where she speaks. I'll definitely remind you that's a school you could get a little bit of a bargain on, let's just say it that way. But you got to have high grades. You got to be above the 3.8 or above and unweighted. Georgia Tech, 65,200 per year, tuition, room and board. It's not a private school, but it's an out-of-state public university. Out-of-state public universities are really going to be quite expensive, and they never really do anything other than merit. Now, a lot of the private schools will do some university grants for students, but even if there's a need basis, Georgia Tech wouldn't do that because it's a state school in Georgia. University of Washington, $63,200 per year. Arizona State, $57,200 per year. Very popular school with students, but the 1/3 rule definitely applies there. That's for sure. So a minimum of 19,000. They don't do any university grants, so probably it'll be higher. It's out-of-state public university. University of Oregon, another popular school with students, very popular. They hear a lot every year. Howard University, we talked about them earlier, $54,800 per year. Again, the 1/3 rule, plus you can get a little more if you're on our program. That's nice. Spelman College, $54,200 per year, tuition, room and board. And Morehouse is $54,000. Hampton, $53,200. Nevada, Las Vegas, very popular with students, very popular school with students. It's $48,900 per year. And again, you're not going to get any extra money from an out-of-state public university. They're pretty much are what they are. Clark Atlanta, it's $41,200 a year, one of the lower cost HBCUs. That's why a lot of people will look at Clark. It's quite affordable. Yeah, well, compared to the other HBCUs. Wondering about loans, taking out parent loans. Here's a nice parent loan chart I've provided at 7.22%. That was an estimate at the time. I think we're going to end up being 7.4 because of inflation and what's going on with interest rates. But this gives you an idea what a typical CSU will be for 4 years. It'll be about $40,000 in debt, $469 per month for 10 years. That'll be the parent loan. But you could accelerate these payments. And then sometimes students will get, by their behavior, can lower this $40,000. Here's where private schools will be between 60 and UC and private, 60 and 160,000 in debt. It could be higher. I've seen the debt run up to $250,000, $300,000 in debt. I've seen after 4 years in some of these colleges. And again, these incomes are 70,000 plus. So step one in accepting the reality that the schools are very expensive. I mean, the sticker price for private colleges is significantly higher than CSU, UC, and many out-of-state public universities. So you can definitely do better with costs looking at those kind of schools. This includes nearly all commonly selected HBCUs. So I see HBCUs very much like private schools. They're private, predominantly Black universities. Still private schools. In the United States, the average cost of a private school is $53,249. $37,200 of is tuition and fees. The rest is room and board. That's the average cost of a private school. It's not counting the financial aid or the merit. Merit scholarships cover up to 1/3. I've told you that. LMU is $73,000. Okay, so you'll end up paying the family income in line at 11 of the 2022 1040 is above 70. Maximum merit award will be about 25,000, sometimes 30,000. So LMU can be pretty expensive. Now, one good thing about LMU is that I've sometimes been able to go in and get extra money for students because they do favor our students a little bit as well. Be real about asking for more dollars in scholarships. I mean, due to COVID-19 response, huge losses. These colleges had huge losses in 2021 and zero financial aid. Private schools didn't get any federal aid like public universities during COVID. Private colleges lost tens of millions of dollars. I think it's NYU that lost $200 million because they couldn't even get their foreign students back, right? From China and those other countries, they were slow coming back. Not much motivation to give significant and useful additional dollars. Scholarships have been restructured, and the trend was already down prior to COVID on merit awards, and tuitions were really already going up. Now, some of these schools were smart. They actually cut their tuitions and cut their costs and laid staff off. Schools like GW, Howard, LMU, they actually reduced their staffs to keep SC Allen Pacific. That's another good one. Reduced their costs during the pandemic. They saw this coming. They didn't want to have to raise their costs. Colleges are setting aside funds, or have been forced to, for severe COVID affected families. And so they don't have a lot of as much need-based money for the next year or two even, because they're still supposedly in a national emergency. You'll need to show severe and permanent circumstances with a plus loan denial, parent loan denial, to get more money from a lot of these schools. I think things might loosen up a little for 24 actually, but this is where we are today. This is what I was saying earlier to students who are here about really getting your grades, stepping up your performance and getting your grades up. That's going to be very important. The situation needs to be fully understood by youth. What a great life lesson for youth. Oftentimes in life, your best doesn't get what you want, but it gets what God wants for you. In life, you get what you earn. It's often not what you want. I said that earlier. Remember, it's not your parents' fault that you cannot have the college you want. It's just the way it is. Parents, you have no reason at all to feel guilty. There's so many great choices for students, even beyond the school, the small group of schools that might be preferred by the student. There's so much else out there. You would not believe it. Just in our first conference, I've learned the things you're looking for, and I think we can really be of assistance to you. There are some alternatives to spending up to $350,000 for 4 years of a private college. There's alternatives to going into debt. You can use your local CSU, CSU Long Beach, Cal State LA, Poly Pomona, Dominguez Hills. You can live at home or an apartment nearby. The cost will be $170 per month. So when you see that, you realize we don't have a college cost crisis in this country. We really don't. You can go to college for a very reasonable amount, $170 a month. We may have a crisis in going away to private college crisis, but that's something that we can work on with better high school performance, more realistic, looking at the college lists more realistically, things like that. Consider certain Western public universities are a fire sale. They're really much less expensive and they have good academic programs. Nevada, Reno, Boise State, Northern Arizona. Boise State has a scholarship they named after us, West Angeles Award. They give 17,000 of the 32,000 in merit to our students that are 3.0 or above. And then you get to the need-based funds. So that makes the Boise State, for example, cheaper than a lot of our CSUs. They're a Division I campus, a lot of spirit, and I put a lot of students through there. I think at any moment we have, like right now, we have 14 students there. My daughter graduated from there, by the way. Some of you know that already. She's doing great in her career. Stay away from ASU, University of Arizona, University of Washington, Washington State, Oregon State. All of these are $35,000 to $50,000 per year, even for high-performing students. Again, when you hear your friends have picked one of these schools, you're finding out today they're very expensive. They've decided as a family to take that debt. And you may decide it too, it's okay. But I want, again, on our program, I want people to know what they're getting. These are alternatives to spending that on this list. Certain private colleges and others are okay. There are some private schools that are fine. There's some not listed here. I'll see if I can tell you all the ones that should be here too. George Washington University, Seattle Pacific, Grand Canyon, Howard, but you have to have a high GPA. Lehigh University, Carnegie Mellon. These are schools that are very, very liberal in their giving to students, especially minority students. So you want to get these schools on your list for sure, in addition to your preferred schools. CSUs and UCs you can save tens of thousands of dollars in money going to CSUs and UCs. Certainly traditionally Black colleges, rather than private HBCUs, certain traditionally Black colleges. By the way, traditionally Black colleges are your state colleges. Norfolk State, Virginia State, Prairie View, Tuskegee. Tuskegee's a private school, but they really have a lot of good foundation money that they give back to students more so. So if you want to go to Black college, there's even Black colleges that are more affordable than others. I like these schools that are listed here. There are others too. I just didn't list them all here. For example, Delaware State's one of them like that. Let's review some of the information the key points of information I presented today, since we're at the end. And again, we're going to get you a copy of this presentation somehow. Christina, were we able to do that, or should we?
Yeah, I was able to do that.
Wonderful. It's in the chat. There you go. Gee, that's pretty quick. Yeah, so we have a link to the presentation in the chat. If you want to put it up on your screen at home now and just take it away from the meeting. But here's a review of the information I presented today. I'll go over them nice and slow here. AP classes only when necessary. Do not overdo it, no matter what the counselors tell you. If you get a really insistent, kind of assertive counselor, you could bring them back to earth by asking them, are they helping you pay for college? And usually they'll kind of wake up and go, oh, no, I'm not saying you have to. Okay. So don't feel that, you have to do whatever the counselor says. The counselors are only there to advise. Remember, I said 2-year college classes are way better anyway. Okay. SAT prep and SAT only when necessary. ACT is okay, but where will you get cost-effective test prep? That's a good question. Use the summer wisely for college essays, college courses. But if you have, parents, if we have our students real busy and traveling, and then they come back and do school, they're stressed, trying to get their essays done, and start thinking ahead about how you're going to handle summer. Maybe they can go away for a shorter time. Maybe we can give some time when they're going to work on that, and they can be working. I'm just amazed at how busy they are in the summer. And even during the year, you have them really busy. And just think it through, and it may be okay to keep them busy, seriously. Just remember, there are lots of schools that don't require the SAT and don't require as much as this stuff. You could do all your applications with hardly any essays and just reporting on your grades and have some really good college experiences. So it's all in how you want to really spend it. I can help you with that too, by the way, on how you construct your list. Be careful about overscheduling youth. This is very common after the pandemic, where they lost so much time, and we as parents are trying to give them all the experiences they missed, especially with athletics. Just, I think one good sport seen in the senior year is okay. I think 2 sports, trying to do all these applications is very stressful for students. So if they have some kind of artistic or music or dancing kind of gift, you want to give time for that. Maybe they can do 2 or 3 things, but not 4 or 5, Maybe that's the way you deal with this. Visit colleges only when the students and staff are present in the colleges. I know with their schedules of your students and your schedule being so tight, you might think, well, I'll just drive up to a school on the weekend and see how it is. But you really want to visit with the staff and students, see how it is with students present, and you really want to take the college tour that's actually offered. Okay. You can contact us. You can contact any one of my assistants. Christina Martinez is here today. You've met her. Quinn is out there somewhere, not here today. And Bailey, these are all my assistants. If I get a hold of Christina, because she would have met you in this meeting here, she knew you were here. If you have any questions or you want to have a meeting with me, certainly get a hold of them. I don't have Brianna's information here, but she'll be making contact with many of you, which as we get to February and March about your college list, she'll be conducting college readiness meetings and getting you ready for that as well. So she'll definitely be involved in this. And you can always reach me directly. You know how to get me, holythinkers@gmail.com. And my cell number is right there. You can take a picture of it on screen or look at the presentation that's been in the chat. Well, I'm actually finished. Didn't take as long as I thought. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take those now. I see Sister Celia's here and Loretta's here and Sister Natasha. Jada, you still there, Jada?
Yes, I'm still here.
I didn't put you to sleep? Tell the truth.
No.
Smart lady. She didn't want to say I put her to sleep, Brianna. She's very smart.
Yes, hi, I'm still here.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi.
How you doing? How did I do?
You
She's a
did
Huh?
you did an excellent job.
Whoa, she's a pro, so I feel really good, y'all. She's one of those parents like that. Go ahead. Did you have a comment or a question?
Listen to it again about that Parent Plus loan. I that was a lot of good information. And
Yeah. I'll go into more detail on the Parent Plus, and there is a video on it that has details on the Parent Plus. Just go through my video list on my video site. Or if you don't want to do that, just email Christina and say, send me the link.
Okay.
And she'll send you the link to any video you want to see. Because there's over 200 now. I got to find a way to organize those. There's a real good one that drills down into Parent Plus. That's in great detail. But yeah, I think that's a good thing, by the way, parents, for you to know about before you get to the college season, to start to think about how much debt you're willing to take, how does the parent loan work, all that. This is going to be something you're going to need for a selective private college. That I like to see it be minimized, but it's a reality we have to accept. Any other questions? All right. Let's see. You pasted the chat against Loretta. Did you be able to get that link, Sister Loretta?
I double checked, but I'll send an email. I screenshotted the email addresses, so if it doesn't pop up.
Okay, you don't see it in the chat, the link to it?
Let me check again. More
Sometimes
chat.
you don't have the right version, you won't see it.
No, I don't
All
see
right,
it.
so just
In the chat, it just says that she's gonna email us the link to hear the recording.
oh yeah, but look
But I
now.
don't see any
She just put a
messages.
PDF. Okay, some of you won't see the PDF because it's your version of Zoom that you have.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just email her and she'll send you that PDF. I'm so sorry. If you have the
Okay.
latest version, you can see it and click on it.
Okay. I'll send an email. Thank you.
Right. Sister Celia, are you there? Sister
I'm here.
Celia? Good, wonderful. How you doing? All right. Thank you all very much.